again technologically. And also, let me just remind you, tomorrow we're going to have that Colonel John Alexander show on my show on the same time. And we have some good shows coming up on my end. If I could throw in a pitch for myself, I think you'd like the Kevin Cook show. We're kind of an eclectic little show. We'll have things on politics. You back with us, Giovanni?
Yeah, I'm back.
Okay, good. Yeah, the Skype, everybody's always harping this Skype like it's the best thing since sliced bread, but I'm not so sure about that.
Well, we'll eat to make fat from eating sliced bread. How's that sound?
No, that's fine. That's fine. But except one other thing I've had. I noticed in some of the work and some of this. I know that as we've discussed in the last segment, that what hypnosis attempts to do, and that it's kind of like separating you from your moment by moment conscious. But I guess one thing that I've had experiences in my life that touch on some of the issues you deal with is like this out-of-body experience thing. When I was about 20, it wasn't a grand and glorious experience in that I was in the bedroom with my ex-wife, and I found myself floating above my body, and I saw Sue and myself on the bed, and it was not like the consciousness of a dream where you just a mishmashy kind of stuff. This is all clear-cut, like I was almost like a burglar in the room checking it out or something. Everything was very vivid and clear in detail. And I kept the light on in the townhouse in the bathroom in case you want to go to it at night. So, in other words, you could tell how dim or dark the light was, or like that. In other words, make qualitative choices. It wasn't like a regular dream where you're just kind of going with the flow of it.
No, they're actually completely different, both of them.
Yeah. And I could see myself and Sue on the bed, entwined up and stuff. And, all these little minute details. Now, I got a feeling of exhilaration, like, hey, this is great, And I know what this is. I've heard about this. And I was thinking, well, I'll go to heaven. And I got, first I thought I'll go see my brother Doug in California. And I was in the East Coast at the time, and I said, well, no, nuts to Doug. I can see him anytime. I'm going to go to heaven. And I thought, then I got cold feet, and I thought, well, wait a minute. I got back from that trip. I don't know if I want to do this. So I kind of got flustered and scared, and I came right back into my body like with a snap. And, of course, I told Sue about it, and she said, yeah, great, okay. But what I'm saying, it was a real experience.
Well, it's totally real. It's totally real. Like, there's parts of our night which we sleep. Like when we go to sleep, we've got our conscious mind on, and once the conscious mind switches off, and the only reason you see an out-of-body experience is because the conscious mind hasn't switched itself off fully. It's still consciously there, but just in probably the alpha, the theta realm, where the subconscious, it's already switched off the body. So, and in our deepest sleeps, right? In our deepest sleeps, I think, like a lot of the religions say, our spirit leaves us, and our spirit's out of body. Like it goes out into dimensions, and it's also trying to find answers to all the questions you want, or it's trying to keep you aware of something, and when it returns. That's why, like, sometimes when you wake up in the morning, it's like an amalgamation of the two becoming one again. And then you feel that lethargic, or you feel like you've been running or been somewhere all night. You probably have. And a lot of times...
it must be, yeah.
Yeah, and no, you're right. Because, look, our dream state is like a riddle, right?
It is. It really is.
And the riddle is attached to the hallucination side of us, okay? Which is like when you're hallucinating, you're working out cause and effects. This might happen, and you're trying to work out answers. So it's a riddle. So there's no truth amongst the lies, even though the truth is amongst the lies. But you're playing something out, and the subconscious. The reason it throws up a dream is to give you a riddle of what you've been thinking, things that are in your mind, or when it's gone out into the out-of-body experience world, it's found like some answers for you. So it's trying to send it to you, hey, if you keep doing this, This is the feeling you're going to get. You notice you're running in the stream all the time and you're feeling worn out. You think you're punching the wall and you're getting nowhere. Because if you don't pull your head in, that's where you're going to end up. That's why you're feeling like this. So it's like once it leaves the out-of-body experience and it's gone out there, it's coming back through the dream state to give you the riddle, where the out-of-body experience side of it is more direct. It's more based on that.
It seemed to be very direct, but it wasn't like an onerous experience at all. It was actually pleasant. I mean, as a matter of fact, it really wasn't anything you'd really want to come back from in a certain way. I mean, I know I got cold feet about the heaven thing, but that seemed a little too serious, and it was...
I completely understand it. Like, because when it happened to me, it's the conscious mind that creates the fear. Because when you see your body leaving you, it's the conscious mind that's going, what's going on? Am I dying right now? What, how come my body's left me? It's the conscious mind that creates the fear, and then it tries to call the body back. But it's out there normally, and once you get used to that concept by opening the mind, your body's going to leave. But if you, before you go to sleep, if you tell the subconscious, hey, I need answers and solutions to this.
Right.
This is the target. So while you're out there cruising the world and finding answers or doing what you do, bring these answers back to me.
Well, many years ago, I mean, this is like 30 years ago, I read something somewhere about, you want a solution, sleep on it. Remember they used to say sleep on it and stuff like that? And I even played with it a little bit, and sometimes you would get a notion of a solution to a problem at the end of the next morning.
100%. The greatest answers I've had to find always came to me in first thing in the morning. Like many years ago, I was a automotive mechanic, and I base a lot of the solution finding skills and fixing things and bringing things down to simplicity from the skills I learned there. And I remember we had this car that had this tapper type noise, like a tick, 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 tick. And I remember, we were there for a week. We had engineers there. No one could find this problem. We replaced all the tappers, the lifters, and the problem was still there. And then I went to sleep one night, and I woke up, and my brain said to me, number 2 piston is smaller than the rest of it. So I walked into the workshop, and I said to the guys, pull that motor down, number 2 piston smaller. And they go, no, you're crazy, can't be. Da, da, da. I said, pull it down, number 2 smaller. And that's what it was.
Well, that's pretty good.
Yeah, there's no ways in the world, logically, they make sense.
No.
It went to a whole new realm. So I don't know what happened, whether I had an out-of-body experience and it jumped in between the motor and checked out the pistons and measured it and did all the work for me. I don't know how that answer came, but all I need to know, it did. And that's it.
Well, I had a interesting guest on some time back, Paul Smith, and he was a remote viewer for the government and actually the U.S. Army. At Fort Meade, they had a remote viewing program for 20 years thereabouts. And what it was he also, one of the things the people that were the remote viewers in that program did was they went to the Monroe Institute in Virginia, and they learned how to leave their body. As far as, I guess remote viewing would be different because it would be kind of like observing things while you're still in your body somehow.
They extend their consciousness.
Right, but they actually, all of them went to school at this Monroe Institute to go a step beyond it to try to learn how to do induce out-of-body experiences. And it worked to some extent or other with all of them, but aspects always fascinated me, and Paul had a great show, and he and some other things strung together obviously have taught me that there's more to it than just the arms and the legs and our nose and the front of our face. I mean, there are a lot more dimensions to us than
100%. Look, I completely, if we really knew how to tap into it, I think there'd be a lot of amazing stuff we can do as human beings. Like even right here, us talking on the telephone, Like I could just leave my body and jump into your studio and say, "How you going, Kevin? What are we going to talk about next?" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we do have a lot of abilities. Like most of us is energy. You know, can't be seen. It's like a light turning on. You can't see the energy flowing, but you know, as long as you got wires and it's got an earth and a positive, it's going to light up that light. But we don't actually see it flowing. And it's the same with our energy in our body. And like our brains are 60% water. So, and the water is what gives, you know, the electricity, the neurons, the connection so we can communicate. And when our water levels are down, that's why we get headaches and migraines and feel lethargic. And we're not
well, you know, that's true. And you know, actually, of course, the general discussion from our military is that they've retired the remote viewing program and they no longer doing it as a organized effort. And I no more believe that than I believe that, you know, I came from the planet Mars. I mean,
of course.
I mean, obviously the government is not going to tell you if they're doing this. And what is known, and very well known, is that the Soviets were the originators of this anyway, and the Soviets and the Chinese are completely into this remote viewing to this day, and the Chinese have, like, I don't know, 20 times remote viewers we ever ostensibly had. And yes, they do that by extending their conscious. And, well, there's one story I've told some remote viewers, and they never would pick up on it because, for obvious reasons, is that I had a pseudo-relative of mine, and this fellow, if you took all the books that, Joe McMoneagle, who's the senior author and remote viewer most people know of, and then Paul Smith, and, the guy up in Amarillo, Texas, I forget his name right off. But anyhow, if you strung all those guys together, these guys would be like babies compared to my pseudo-brother-in-law. I mean, really. I mean, he could make them seem like knuckle-dragging monkeys, and I mean doing the same things. And what I'm saying is I know there's more to us than this, just what I've experienced, you know, personally with paranormal phenomenon. And, you know, I'm a big Catholic, and I've had, you know, my own share of divine experiences, which I'm very thankful for. But, I mean, there's a whole lot more to us, and that's one of the things that tickles me with some of the research you've done and interests you have, like this out-of-body experience thing. I don't know whether you know this or not, but even in the Bible, Elisha, if I remember it, and the Book of Kings, if the Bible of memories are right, he used to go snoop up on the Pharaoh to see if his troops were being dispatched, you know, to go get him or something, and he'd like be forewarned by basically remote viewing the Pharaoh's court chambers. And it says it right in the Bible. So, I mean, it isn't like they said, you know, he's sinning by doing this or anything like that. It was just a normal ability this man had.
Look, and I agree with you totally, like 100%. Like, back then, they didn't have our cranes, our computers, and technology, so they relied on them. So they used their skills. You know, their skills were natural to them because that's what they did. Where over now, people are scared of those skills because, you know, if we want to know something, we just Google it. If we want to go down, we don't have to hunt and do what they have to. But those skills, we're all capable of it. Like, you look at the pyramids and the Egyptians, what they created, like, we can't even do that with our best cranes at the moment.
No. I mean, you could stick a credit card between, you can't stick a credit card between those blocks. And I doubt we could do that today as far as make it that precise.
No. So we do have these abilities. They've just been dumbed down. They've been shut off. It's all been, you know, weakened. Like even our language patterns. You look at some of the Roman movies and the old days of the past, their language is powerful.
Right.
You know, and ours is like confusing. Our language
I know. It is. I don't know, but these things do exist. That's why I'm intrigued with the work you've done and the studies you've done. And also, on another level, like we discussed earlier in the beginning of the show, is the opportunities for improvement by utilizing these hypnotic techniques is very good. And I Oh, golly, there's so many habits. Like I say, the cigarette smoking habit, dropping that was one of the best things I've ever done, just economically, if anything else, because how much is a pack of cigarettes in Australia right now, just for curiosity?
Okay, out of curiosity, for a pack of 25s, I think you don't have 25s over there.
No.
Pack of 25s is about $20.
Golly. I was going to say New York's bad, because I was in New York a couple of years ago, and they were charging $9 for a 20-pack.
Yeah, see, Australia, we get our taxes are high on our luxuries, cigarettes, drinking, cars. Yeah. Everything that we enjoy, we get jammed on. So, but when it comes to our housing, we don't pay taxes on our house unless you've got two. The only thing we got here is now they're charging us for water and rates. Like when we had the droughts a few years ago, the government turned around and said, "Hey, everyone, we're going to give you a government subsidy. Go out and everyone can get a tank in their backyard. So when it does rain, we've got some water there." And then I thought, okay, what are they planning next? Because when they're doing something kind like that, there's a second motive there. And then probably about 6 months later, then they brought out a new fee. Now we're paying for our water, even the water that falls out of the sky.
Gee. Well, now, how is the drought down there? Is it lightened up or not?
No. We had a flood last year that kind of, the drought definitely broke in all angles.
Oh, okay. So the drought's over with then?
Yeah, definitely. Our dams are completely full.
Oh, good, because that sounded pretty chronic there for a while. I thought
it was. Like it didn't rain for a good while. Like it was getting pretty dry. They gave us all these little, I can't even remember, hourglasses that we had to have a shower with, pin it up against the wall, flip it upside down, and then you have to have a shower before the sand run out.
Oh, like a boat shower. I'm used to that. I do that anyway.
Yeah, it was like that. So,
I grew up on a boat partially, and I'm used to that. But as there was some talk, it was getting so bad we might have to take you all on board over in California or something.
Yeah, there you go. No, but we had so much rain here, and this is the interesting part of the rain. Like I remember before, like when the droughts were getting really bad, they had our meteorology. And this guy from New Zealand, the guy from New Zealand predicts the weather through sunspots.
Oh, okay.
And so they had a bit of a test to see who was more accurate. And the guy from New Zealand, he predicted that we'd have floods. He predicted we were going to get rains and everything, and he was 100% accurate, where the meteorology wasn't.
Gee, that's wild. That's wild.
Yeah, and that's just reading sunspots. Because even in the Egyptian days, they used to see, okay, if the solar flare went this way, it's going to affect this part of the world, and we're going to have this, that, and the other. So that's how they used to read the weather back then, and it was still more accurate than what with all our technology today.
Well, a lot of things are weird like that. I had a buddy that was a big-time gambler, and he was an insurance adjuster when I was an insurance adjuster with State Farm in Fort Worth, Texas, and when I say big-time gambler, this is in the late 80s, and he and his buddies would put together on football bets and other bets like $3,000-$4,000 a week apiece. And in the 80s, that was quite a bit of money.
That's a lot of money, like $20,000 now.
Yeah, and what they were doing is the guy that was, basically the tip service they were using, the way he was making his picks is he was like baseball pitchers. He'd do their biorhythms, their ups and downs or whatever. And I don't know how they did those things, but somehow their ups and downs physiologically. And they didn't know this till they got closer. I don't know. They somehow found out, what his source of the picks were, and that completely punctured their faith in him or whatever, because they thought it was too wacky. But he was making them money.
Yeah. I reckon what he was doing is reading their patterns, because everyone has a pattern. Mm-hmm. So he was seeing, okay, when they're at their high peak, they're probably performing, and then now they're about to, depending on what belief systems those people are running, some people, when they're at their peak, they'll sabotage themselves to bring them down. So he's probably reading the patterns in the players, and that's where he was picking it. So very
it was
intelligent
working,
man.
and they were making money at it until they, I guess,
very
like they say, they got scared. They got scared, but they were making thousands. But anyhow, there's a lot more to us, and we're just about at the next break, but I know there's other dimensions too, and
I agree.
And it's your work kind of touched on that too. And when we get back, I don't want to bore well, no, this is not my regular audience, so I'll go ahead and bore this audience with a story I had. It was very weird. It was very weird, certainly exotic. I met a dead singer who I've always liked, and one of his girlfriends who I always liked, and well, not a girlfriend of his, but someone in his era, and anyhow, an old actress. Anyhow, what I'm saying is I met these figures in a dream. And I think, Giovanni, there was some validity to this dream. Now, I may be wacky as wacky gets, but I think I did. And we'll talk about that when I get back. Now, let me ask you one other thing before we take a break. Well, in a couple of minutes. But how much is a bottle of Bushmills down there?
Bushmills? What's Bushmills?
Oh, it's Irish whiskey.
Oh, there you go. Okay. 700 mils.
Yes.
So I don't know what that is in... 700 mils it starts at $35 upwards, whether it's rum or scotch.
Well, this is the Irish whiskey. Bushmills is the Irish whiskey. I mean, Jameson's is varnished compared to this. This is, if I ever wanted to get a sponsor for this show, I would definitely get Bushmills Irish whiskey because it makes Jameson's taste like some condensation from a pickle vat. I mean,
put it this way, your Chivas Regal? Chivas Regal?
Oh, yes.
Scotch? Okay, that we sell it here in a 700 ml bottle, and that costs about $70 to $80.
That's too much. That's too much.
Of course.
That's way too much. I'd wondered about that. Like I say, I don't get to talk to anybody from Australia very often, and I was wondering, because I would say I could probably, if I bought it in the right place, I could get get that in Bushmills for about $25 here, $23, $25. So it would be about double or triple that probably there, because Bushmills is the premium of the Irish whiskeys, and that would be pretty rough. Yeah.
Yeah, put it this way. Last year in December, I was in Jersey, and took my family there, my daughter and my two nephews.
Yeah.
And it was cheaper for me to buy scotch out of your local liquor barn than it was to go through duty free.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could believe that. Yeah. Well, so there's some things in Australia that are good, but the import duties are very rough. It sounds like.
Anything you enjoy, which is a luxury, you're gonna hurt.
Oh, well, it's better to have no joys there. But no, But Bushmills Irish whiskey is it's the best. As a matter of fact, I'm going to pursue them as a sponsor because I can get behind that product.
I've never heard of it, Bushmills. I'll have to look it up. That's probably our Bailey's. Is it?
Well, no. Bailey's is Bailey's Irish Cream. That's something else. No, Bushmills is the whiskey of Ireland. It's been continuously distilled since 1608. It's the best. It's the best. Jameson's 1750. Johnny Come Lately guys. But anyway, I don't want to bore the audience with Irish whiskey contrast. But
you can get them all drinking now.
Well, they should drink, and they should be they should drink Irish whiskey, and it should be Bushmills, and that's just the way it is. But we're going to come to our last break right now, and hopefully they'll go get a shot of Bushmills and come on back, and we'll be gone for about 4 or 5 minutes. We'll talk about some interdimensional travelers, we shall say. Okay. Well, it's good to be back with you and another edition of Epic Voyagers, and having interesting little insights into Australia, because we don't get to talk to too many Australians, and Giovanni's telling me something strange during the break, that Australia's being kind of overrun with foreign investors, I guess, unlike, say, in Mexico, Giovanni, you can't even a U.S. citizen can't buy property in Mexico directly. I mean, if they're married to a Mexican or something like that, they could, but you can only lease. And I know some people I know that were actually had a business in Ireland, had a heck of a time getting citizenship. I don't think they ever really could. And these people actually had a business and a house in Ireland. So, but you say Australia's getting kind of bought out, eh?
Yeah, it is. Like, we got a lot of the West that's been sold, especially in the mining areas. Over here, basically, if you're coming from another country and you've got something to offer Australia, and especially a big wallet, you're pretty much so in.